Hi, welcome. So in the last video, you saw how to use Git in your local machine to create repositories, and then you add to the staging area. And from the staging area, you can now create your save points with commits. So it is now time to be able to push that your code or push those save points to GitHub. And remember, GitHub is an online service which you can host your code and share your code with the rest of the world, or with other team members who want to collaborate on the same project with you when they'll create different branches. So there'll be basically two ways. You might already have an existing project and you want to push that project to GitHub. So you go to GitHub, create a repository, and then you come back to your local project, initialize that project as a Git project, and then you're able to do your add, commit, push to GitHub. There is the other situation where you have not yet started the project, but you know you need to host that project on GitHub, which is good practice. So you want to go to GitHub, create an empty project, but then come back to your local repository, do a Git clone, or think of it like a copy that project from online to your local machine. Then from there now, you can be working and adding things, and then you push back to GitHub. So we are going to look at these two possibilities in this video. First of all, we are just going to show you how to create your GitHub account. And if you have it, then you can just move on. So let's go straight to the computer. So now we have this. I'll just go to join. And from here, I can say join GitHub, for example. And when I click here, you see it's easy to create your GitHub account. Just a username, email address, password, and then you verify your account here. And it's just in a matter of seconds, you should be able to create your GitHub account. It's not complicated, so we'll not waste time on this one. So now I'll just go straight to my account. Might be a bit different because it's not a newly created account. So I'll just type GitHub here, and my account, you'll see this new for me, even though it'll be green for you, but something else might be written here, but it's not a problem. These are repositories. That's the first thing to note. They are just like folders. Each of the projects are here. So for example, if I'll just go to my profile, and so you can see that I have already 37 repositories, for example. So if I click on here, I can see all my repositories. And then if I click on the 90 days, here I see that there is a README file, and then another folder for resources, for example. So this README file is usually where you describe what your project is all about. This repository is a challenge, this and that is where you describe and how to set it up, for example. And then inside here, those resources is where you put maybe your code, for example. So if I go maybe just say day 10, and then there's a markdown here, it's telling me these are the videos for that day, things like that. So I can always go back here, and then now I know that that is how it looks. So if I go back to here, you can see that there is one branch, just a master branch. For you, it might be main when you just create it. I changed mine from main to master, so you'll be main as default. And then here you have commits here. So these are the number of commits like we saw in the last video. So these are the commit numbers here, and then these are the commits that have been done. So now let's go back now, and then what we want to do now is to create a GitHub repository. We have an existing project, and this is the project. So locally, here is a project one. We have a test file inside. So imagine maybe it could be your Python project or your Power BI project or whatever, and it is found in this folder here. So we want to create this similar folder in remote, and the two should be able to talk to each other. So we are going to go back to GitHub, go here, then we go to our new repository. So if you click here, for example, you see new repository on this plus. So if you are lost, you can always go back to your home page and you'll see that green. But then here is a new repository, and then I can just type the name of the project one. For example, it's available, so it's good. I don't need the description. I can put the description about the project, but then it's just a test project, so no need. Public is for when you're using GitHub free like we are using. But if you start paying monthly subscription, then you can make your repository private so that not everybody can see it. But for now, we'll leave it public. And then you can add a README file. We'll not bother about that. You can also add a git ignore file. So if I'm using Python, for example, I'll just click on the default git ignore, which knows the right codes to prevent you from pushing from your local to GitHub with this git ignore here. So another thing too is the license. You will not need this, so we can just create our repository, and now we have it here. So we have this repository project 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go now here locally, then I'm going to right click here, open git bash here like a shortcut so that I'll not use cd. So now I'm inside project 1, and then what I'm going to do now is do a git init first. So if I do a git init here, you would see that I have this .git file now that has been created, and I'm on the master here automatically. So these are things we have seen in the last videos. You can always go back and check. We'll not dwell too much on this now. So the next thing now is that I want to check what is the status. So it says that there is a text file that has not been added yet. So it has not been committed, which is this file. So if you had a project, it was all the things you've been doing, it will show here in red. So now what you want to do now is to do your git add. So remember, we've seen this already in the previous video. So you just do a git add here. And now if you do your git status again to see, you will see that your file is ready to be committed. So it's ready now to be committed. And then you can do your git commit -m is a message. And then you can just say first commit, for example, first commit. So we have looked at some of these things already in the past videos. You can always go and check. So it says that one file was changed, and then it create mode. So this is it. It saw that this file had been created, this file. So now what you want now to do is to push this now to GitHub. But then how does it know the link, the URL? So you need to add the remote link here. So that is why you're going to go back here, and then you're going to copy this link. This is the link to this repository. So if we do a copy here, we go back here, and then we say git remote add. So add this now origin. So this is just an alias. I could say O, I could say D, I could say B. Then I'm going to right click and paste, because this is bash. So you need to right click and paste, not Control V. So now I'm telling it that add this link now should be called origin from now onwards, and also add it like a remote to this repository. So if I click on enter now, you see it is going to be communicating now with this repository here directly. So if, for example, I now want to push my changes to GitHub, so I can just do a git push, and then -u means upstream. Then I say origin, so push to that URL, and then push this master branch to that URL. So when I click on that now, it's going to say writing total 3, so branch origin master to master. So it is being able to use this size to do that. So the git ignore prevents some things that are not necessary to be pushed, so you will not waste time pushing things that don't need to go to GitHub. That's another topic then. So if I go back here now and I click on project 1, if you see, I have now this file online with the text, so I can share this link now to anybody. That is the first method. You had the local repository and you created this one in Git. Now I don't have any project again. I want to create a new project, but as good practice, it's good to first create a GitHub repository, clone it, and then be working and be pushing back to GitHub almost like this. So I'll start with GitHub first. So again, I'm going to go back here again to this plus, click on new repository, and then let me just call this project 2, for example. I have a new project idea. Then I'll keep it public. I can add a README file so that I'll be able to describe what this project is all about. I'll leave this git ignore for now, leave the license, and then I'm just going to create this repository. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link now. I want to take it now to my local. So I have to bring this folder called project 2 into my local machine. So I'll need to decide where I want to put it. So for example, I might decide that, let me just pull this down. So I might decide that I want to put this in my, let me just say in this sample still. So remember the command cd dot dot. Now I'm inside sample, and then now I can decide to say I want you to git clone. Then I'm going to paste now that URL here. So let me paste it here. Okay, let me go back and copy it. So let me go back and copy it. I think I didn't get it right, so let me just go back and copy it. Go back here to here, go here, click on copy, go back here, then do a git clone. Then I'm going to right click and paste. Okay, copied it this time. So it's cloning the project. So if you see, it's done. And then now if I go back here now to sample, I have a project 2 now. So this project 2, and it has this readme file already. So this project 2, I could still maybe create a new document here. So let me just go to new text file. So text document, maybe call it test doc or so, whatever, that way. So if I go back now to my git, I can now say cd into project 2, and you'd see. So now you see it has the master already. The git has been initialized for me, so I don't need a git in it. I just need to check now the status. So that file that I just changed here, the test doc.txt, is now here. So I can do a git add again, git add dot, do again the git commit, for example git commit, then I give a -m, and then I just say maybe first commit, still first commit. Then if I go now to this, I can do it's already linked. I can just do a git push. And then now it's going to push this file from here to the GitHub. So if I go back to the GitHub again here, then I click on this project 2, click on it, I'm going to see now that I have this text doc now added to it. So that's how you can start from here and work backwards. So I hope you've been able to learn how to push your projects to GitHub so that you can be able to use it, even push the projects that we have been doing in this challenge to GitHub and share with the rest of the world. See you next video. Wish you good data luck.